husband found the letters this morning. It's 3 p.m. now, and I'm sitting on our living room floor, staring at the front door he walked through 6 hours ago, waiting to see if he'll walk back through it. I don't know if he's coming back. I don't know if our marriage survived what he learned today. He didn't call, he didn't text, he just left, grabbed his keys, his jacket, and walked out with 15 years of our life hanging in the balance. And I deserve this uncertainty because I kept secrets. 2 of them, actually, both hidden in my mother's old jewelry box. The box he was looking through this morning to find my grandmother's ring, the one he wanted to surprise me by getting repaired. Instead, he found the truth I've been too terrified to tell him. So I'm sitting here, in our beautiful home, surrounded by everything we've built together, and I'm going to tell you the story I should have told him years ago. The story of who I was, who I almost became, and why I chose the man who might not choose me back. Because whether he comes home or not, this is the truth. And I'm done hiding.
Let me tell you about Marcus first, because you need to understand what I'm about to lose. Marcus Bennett is, God, I hope I can still say is and not was, the kind of man who brings you coffee in bed on Sunday mornings without being asked, who remembers that you like 2 sugars, but only when it's cold outside, who leaves sticky notes on the bathroom mirror that say things like, "You're going to crush that presentation today." For 15 years, he's been my anchor, steady, reliable, kind in a world that taught me kindness was weakness. We met at a charity art auction when I was 25, and he was 27. I was working as an assistant at the gallery. My boss Margaret knew about my past and gave me a chance anyway, bless her. And Marcus was a junior investment consultant, nervous in his new suit, clearly dragged there by his firm. I watched him bid on a painting, a small watercolor of a lighthouse, not because he wanted it, but because no one else was bidding and he felt bad for the artist. He overpaid by $300. When I delivered it to him at the end of the night, he blushed and said, "I don't even really like lighthouses." I laughed for the first time in months. That's who Marcus is, a man who overpays for lighthouses because he can't stand to see someone disappointed. A man who chooses to see good in people. And right now, he's somewhere out there trying to decide if I'm still that good person he thought he married. But before I tell you about the letters he found, you need to understand the woman he fell in love with. Because she wasn't entirely real. She was a carefully constructed version of someone who'd spent 18 months learning exactly what happens when you trust the wrong person and make the worst decision of your life.
I was 22 when I went to prison. One of the letters Marcus found this morning, the first one, yellowed and aged, it's from my cellmate, Sarah. She sent it about a year after we both got out. It says, "Elena, I'm writing to thank you for talking me down that night in our 8th month. I wouldn't be here without you. You saved my life by reminding me we could become different people. You were right. Thank you for being my friend when I had none. Sarah was going to kill herself. I stopped her. And maybe that one good thing I did doesn't erase everything else, but it's something Marcus didn't know existed until this morning. But that letter doesn't explain why I was there. It doesn't explain the chain of choices that led a college dropout with big dreams and empty pockets to commit a crime that still makes my hands shake. His name was Daniel Cortez. I met him when I was 20, working 2 jobs to pay for my mother's chemotherapy while taking night classes in art history. Daniel was magnetic, the kind of man who walks into a room and changes the air pressure. 6'2", dark eyes, the kind of smile that made you feel like you were the only person in the world. He managed what he called a boutique investment firm, or at least that's what he told me. My mother was dying, actually dying. Not the kind of sick where you have hope and treatment options. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. And we were drowning in medical bills that insurance laughed at. I was 20 years old, working myself to exhaustion, watching the strongest woman I'd ever known fade away. Daniel seemed like an answer.
I was 20 years old, exhausted, terrified, and desperately in love with a man who made me feel like I was worth saving. So I said yes. For 6 months, I helped Daniel commit embezzlement using my mother's identity. We stole $340,000 from his firm's clients, money that was supposed to be in retirement accounts, college funds, trust funds for children. And when we got caught, when federal investigators showed up at my apartment at 6 in the morning, Daniel was already gone, vanished. Left me holding forged documents with my signature, bank accounts in my name, a paper trail that led straight to me and nowhere near him. My mother died 3 weeks before my trial. She never knew what I'd done. She died thinking I was working extra shifts to pay for her care, never knowing I'd destroyed my life trying to save hers. I was sentenced to 18 months in a minimum security facility. 22 years old, and I learned very quickly that prison is exactly as terrible as you imagine, and worse in ways you can't. But I also learned something else. I learned that you can be a good person who makes a catastrophic choice. I learned that desperation makes you stupid, and love, or what I thought was love, makes you blind. I learned that the woman I'd been, naive, trusting, willing to compromise everything for someone else, had to die if I wanted to survive. Sarah told me on my 3rd day, "You got 2 choices in here. You can let this place define you, or you can decide who you're gonna be when you walk out." So I decided. I enrolled in correspondence courses. I read every book in that prison library twice. I learned about art, about business, about the world beyond those walls, and I made myself a promise. When I got out, I would never be that desperate, naive girl again. I would be someone new. And in that 8th month, when Sarah was ready to give up, I told her the same thing she'd told me. We could become different people. We could choose who'd we'd be. She chose to live. I chose to transform. I was released at 24. I moved to a new city where no one knew my name. I got a job at a small art gallery owned by a woman named Margaret, who knew about my record. I was honest with her, terrified she'd turn me away. And she looked me in the eye and said, "Everyone deserves a second chance if they're willing to work for it." I worked for it. God, did I work. I took night classes. I built a life that was small, but mine. And for a year, I was okay. Not happy, but okay. Functional. Safe. Clean. And then, at that charity auction, I met Marcus. Our first date was at a tiny Italian restaurant where the owner's mother cooked in the back and yelled at customers if they didn't clean their plates. Marcus was nervous, kept adjusting his collar, knocking over the salt shaker, apologizing for things that didn't need apologies. I found it endearing. After Daniel's smooth, practiced confidence, Marcus's awkward genuineness felt like oxygen. We talked for 4 hours. He told me about growing up in Ohio, about his brother who he hadn't spoken to in 2 years over a business dispute, about how he didn't really understand art but loved how it made him feel things. I told him about my mother, about losing her, about rebuilding my life afterward. I didn't tell him about prison or Daniel or the woman I'd been. He walked me home, and at my door he hesitated. Then he said, "I really want to kiss you, but I'm terrible at reading signals, so I'm just going to ask, would that be okay?" I kissed him first. It wasn't fireworks. It wasn't the consuming, dangerous passion I'd felt with Daniel. It was different. It was warm bread and Sunday mornings and coming home to someone who asked about your day and actually listened. It was safe. And after everything I'd been through, safe felt like a miracle.
We've been dating 8 months now. Well, we had been dating 8 months when everything happened. 8 months of building something real. He's met my friends. I've met his mother. We talk about moving in together, about futures and plans. About a month after we started dating, Sarah's letter arrived. I'd kept it all these years because it reminds me that even in my worst moment, I helped someone choose life, that I'm not just the sum of my mistakes. Marcus never knew it existed until today. But that's not the letter that's destroying us right now. 3 months ago, 3 months into our relationship, Daniel called. I hadn't heard his voice in 3 years. 3 years since he disappeared, since he left me to face everything alone, since he destroyed my life and walked away. "Elena," he said, like no time had passed at all. "I've been thinking about you. I'm back in town. I need to see you." I should have hung up. I should have blocked the number and never looked back. But I didn't. He wants to meet, says he's been in South America, that he's found himself, that he's different now. He says he never stops loving me, never stopped regretting leaving me, never stopped thinking about what we could have been. I tell him I'm seeing someone. He says, "Are you happy, Elena, or are you just safe?" That question haunts me for weeks. Marcus and I have been together almost 8 months when he proposes. We're at the lighthouse, the same one from that terrible painting he bought at the auction. He found the actual lighthouse, drove us 3 hours to the coast, and at sunset, with the ocean crashing below us, he kneels down with his grandmother's ring.
Elena, he says, I know I'm not exciting. I know I'm just a guy who works too much and can't dance and burns toast. But I love you, and I will spend every day trying to deserve you. I say yes, because I want to say yes, because Marcus is everything good and steady and real. But 5 days after I say yes, Daniel's letter arrives. I've never opened it. Pause. Until this morning, that letter sat sealed in my jewelry box for what would have been almost our entire marriage. But I know Daniel sent it because 2 days after it arrived, he called again. He'd heard I was engaged. Somehow he always knew how to find me, and he was desperate. You're making a mistake. We're fire, Elena. We were always meant to burn together. This other guy, he's safe. He's boring. He'll never understand you the way I do. He doesn't know who you really are. I asked him, where were you when I was sentenced? Where were you when I sat in that courtroom and took the fall for both of us? Where were you when I needed you? He said, I was scared. I was young. I panicked. But I'm different now. We could start over. We could have everything. Just don't marry him, please. And for one terrible, honest moment, sitting there with his unopened letter in my hands, I want to believe him. I'm going to be honest about something that makes me sick to admit. I was torn. For weeks leading up to my wedding, I was genuinely, agonizingly torn between two versions of my future. And I know how that sounds. I know. I'm engaged to Marcus, this good, kind man, and I'm still thinking about the person who destroyed my life. But here's what I'm only now understanding, sitting here on this floor. Daniel wasn't just my ex-boyfriend. He was my abuser. Not physically, he never hit me, but emotionally, psychologically. He manipulated a desperate 20-year-old into committing crimes. He made me believe I was nothing without him. He created a trauma bond that I'm still trying to untangle 3 years after prison. So when he came back, offering passion and intensity and claiming he had changed, part of my brain, the part that was programmed by his manipulation, wanted to believe it, wanted to go back to the person who made me seen, even though he's the same person who made me invisible when it mattered. That's what abuse does. It makes you question your own healing. It makes you wonder if the safe choice is the wrong choice. But here's what I also know sitting here right now. Daniel represented the person I was, the passionate, reckless girl who believed in grand gestures and all-consuming love, the girl who existed before prison, before consequences, before I learned that some kinds of love destroy you. Marcus represents the person I'm becoming, the woman who pays her bills on time and shows up for work and builds relationships based on trust instead of intensity, the woman who learned that love isn't about feeling consumed, it's about feeling safe enough to grow. I actually make a list. I sit down with a notebook and make a list of reasons to choose each man. Daniel's list is full of feeling, passion, history, chemistry. He knows my worst. He's seen me broken. Marcus's list is full of actions, consistency, kindness, respect, trust. He never lied to me. He never asked me to compromise myself. He shows up every single day and chooses me. And I realized something sitting there with that list. Daniel saw my worst and left. Marcus doesn't know my worst yet, but he's building something beautiful with the person I'm becoming anyway. Daniel represented the chaos in me, probably because he created it. Marcus represents the peace I'm fighting to maintain. Daniel represents building backward. Marcus represents moving forward. So I make my choice. I take Daniel's unopened letter and I put it at the bottom of my jewelry box, the same box my mother gave me when I was 16. I put it there as a reminder of the door I'm deliberately closing, a reminder that love isn't about who makes your heart race. It's about who makes your heart safe. I don't open it. I don't need to know what he wrote. His words don't matter anymore. What matters is the choice I'm making. And then I marry Marcus. Our wedding is small, 40 people in a garden in October. Marcus cries during his vows, actually cries, when he promises to love me in all the ways I know and all the ways I'm still learning. I promise to choose him every day for the rest of my life. And for 15 years, I keep that promise.
But I never tell him about Daniel, or the letter, or the choice I had to make, or the prison. I convince myself it's protection, that telling him would only hurt him, that who I'd been doesn't matter compared to who I've become. But the truth is simpler and uglier. I'm terrified. From the beginning, from that very first date, I hear how Marcus talks about values, about integrity, about doing the right thing. He mentions once, casually, how he can't understand people who lie to their partners about important things. Trust is everything, he says. Without it, what do you have? And I think, I have a felony record for financial fraud. I have 18 months in prison. I have an ex who manipulated me into crime. I have secrets that would make you see me differently. So I don't tell him. Not on the first date. Not before we get engaged. Not before the wedding. Not on our wedding night. And with every year that passes, those secrets get harder to tell. How do you confess something after 5 years? After 10? After 15? When you have a mortgage and shared friends and a life built on what you tell yourself is mostly truth? You don't. You just hope the past stays buried. But this morning, Marcus was looking for my grandmother's ring, the antique one with the small diamonds that I wear on special occasions. It was getting loose, and he wanted to surprise me by taking it to get resized. So he opened my jewelry box, and he found both letters. The one from Sarah, with the correctional facility postmark clearly visible, and the one from Daniel, with my name written in his handwriting, postmarked 1 week before our wedding. Still sealed after all these years. I came home from work at 3 p.m. He'd texted, "Come home," and found him sitting at our kitchen table with both letters in front of him. He didn't say anything at first, just looked at me with this expression I'd never seen before. Hurt, confusion, betrayal. Then he said, very quietly, "Elena, what is this?" And I knew that everything I'd been terrified would happen was happening right now.
That was 6 hours ago. Right now, I'm still sitting on this floor, and I don't know if he's ever coming back. But let me tell you what happened in that kitchen, because whether he forgives me or not, I need to say it. I tried to explain. Started with, "I can explain everything," but he held up his hand and said, "Don't. Not yet. I need you to know what I'm feeling before you tell me anything, because once you start explaining, I'm going to want to understand, and I need to feel this first. You went to prison," he said, "and you never told me. 18 months of your life, and you let me believe, what, that you were just working? Just living?" I nodded. I couldn't speak. "And this?" He held up Daniel's letter, still sealed. "Someone wrote to you 1 week before our wedding, someone who clearly knew you well enough to try to stop it. And you kept this. For 15 years, you've kept a letter from another man in our home?" "I never opened it," I whispered. "That's not the point, Elena." And there it was, the anger, raw and wounded. "The point is you kept it. The point is you've been keeping secrets from me our entire marriage. The point is I'm sitting here wondering if I ever really knew you at all." He stood up, started pacing, ran his hands through his hair the way he does when he's trying to solve impossible problems. "I need to know," he said finally. "Everything, right now, because I can't..." His voice cracked. "I can't be in this house not knowing who I'm married to." So I told him. I told him about my mother dying, about Daniel and the desperation and the terrible choices, about prison and Sarah, and learning who I needed to become. I told him about meeting him at that auction and feeling, for the first time in years, like maybe I deserved something good. And then, and this was the hardest part, I told him about Daniel's return, about the phone call and the letter and the choice I had to make. I was torn, I said, and I watched something break in his face. For weeks before our wedding, I was genuinely torn between marrying you and considering going back to Daniel. Why? His voice was barely a whisper. Because Daniel represented passion, intensity. He knew my worst secrets. There was nothing to hide with him. But with you, I had to be better. I had to keep growing. I had to choose partnership over passion, safety over chaos, building something instead of burning it down. I took a breath, and that scared me. It scared me that I wanted to choose the chaos, that for weeks I held his unopened letter and wondered if I was making a mistake marrying you. But I made my choice. I chose you, not because you were safe. I mean, yes, you felt safer than Daniel, but because you were good. Because every single day you showed me what love is supposed to look like. patient, kind, showing up even when it's boring, especially when it's boring. And I kept that letter as a reminder of the life I didn't choose, the door I deliberately closed. I should have thrown it away, but I kept it because I never wanted to forget what I walked away from or why. Marcus didn't say anything for a long time, just sat there, processing. Finally, "You should have told me about all of it before we got married." "I know. I would have understood about prison, about being desperate to save your mother, about making a mistake when you were 22. Alina, I would have understood." "Would you?" I asked. "Would you have married someone with a criminal record for financial fraud? Would you have introduced me to your mother, brought me to your firm's events, built a life with me knowing I'd been to prison?" Opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. "I don't know. And that kills me, but I don't know. I'd like to think I would have, but I was 27 and conventional and probably judgmental in ways I didn't even realize. And that's exactly why I didn't tell you," I said softly. "Because I knew, and I wanted you so badly. I wanted the life you were offering, normal and safe and real. And I was terrified you'd walk away if you knew. So you lied. I omitted. I rebuilt myself. I became someone better. You were always someone better. You just didn't know it, and you didn't give me the chance to see it." Marcus stood up. "I need time," he said. "I need to think. I need to—" He grabbed his keys from the counter. "I'm going to stay at my brother's tonight." My heart stopped. "Marcus, I'm not leaving you." But he wouldn't meet my eyes. I need space to process this, to figure out how I feel about being married to someone I apparently don't fully know." He walked to the front door, stopped, turned back. "That letter from Daniel, do you ever wonder what it says?" "No," I said honestly, "because it doesn't matter. I made my choice. But you kept it. I kept it because I'm human, because part of me needed the reminder that I could have chosen chaos, and I deliberately chose you instead. Every day for 15 years, I've proven that choice was right." Heavy pause. He left. And I've been sitting here since, waiting, watching that door, wondering if he'll come back through it. It's been 6 hours now. The afternoon light is fading. I tried calling, he didn't answer. I tried texting, nothing. I don't know where he is. I don't know what he's thinking. I don't know if he's coming back. I keep staring at my phone, willing it to ring. I keep watching the door, hoping it will open. I keep replaying every word of our conversation, wondering what I could have said differently. But I can't change the past. I can only wait. You know what's cruel? I spent 15 years hiding the truth because I was afraid of this exact moment, afraid of seeing the hurt in his eyes, afraid of watching him walk away, afraid of losing everything we built. And now it's happening anyway. All that time spent hiding, all that fear, all that silence. And here I am, sitting on the floor of our beautiful home, alone, waiting to see if my marriage survives the truth I was too scared to tell. The irony isn't lost on me. I learned in prison that secrets destroy you. I learned that becoming someone new requires honesty, first with yourself, then with others. And yet, I kept the biggest secrets from the person who deserved the truth most. I don't know if he's coming back. I genuinely don't know. And the not knowing is its own kind of prison. Wait, I hear a car. Oh God, that's his car. He's pulling into the driveway. The engine just turned off. I can't breathe. I don't know what this means. I don't know if he's coming back to talk or to tell me he's leaving for good or... The car door just closed. Footsteps on the driveway. I'm standing now. I don't remember standing up, but I'm standing, staring at that door. The door handle is turning. He's here. Marcus just walked in. He looks exhausted, like he's aged 5 years in 6 hours. His hair is a mess. He's still in his work clothes, but they're rumpled. There are shadows under his eyes. He sees me standing there. I'm sure I look just as wrecked, and for a moment we just stare at each other. Then he sits down on the couch, heavily, like his legs won't hold him anymore. "I went to my brother's," he says quietly. "Actually talked to him for the first time in 3 years, about what happened between us, about why I couldn't forgive him for so long." I'm still standing. Can't move. Just listening.
He asked me what was worse, the mistake he made, or the fact that I never gave him a chance to explain, to grow, to prove he was more than the worst thing he had ever done. I've been sitting in his living room for hours, Elena, thinking about that, about forgiveness and second chances and whether people can really change. He looks up at me. Those hazel eyes are red from crying. You changed, didn't you? The woman who went to prison at 22 isn't the woman standing in front of me right now. No, I whisper. She's not. And Daniel, the man you almost went back to, he's not who I am. Manipulative, selfish, willing to destroy you to save himself, that's not me. No, I say again. That's exactly why I chose you. Marcus reaches into his pocket and pulls out, oh God. He has Daniel's letter. He must have taken it with him. I could read this, he says, holding it up. I could open it right now and see exactly what he said to you, see exactly what tempted you, see exactly what you walked away from. My heart is pounding so hard I can hear it. But if I do that, he continues, I'm telling you I don't trust your choice. I'm telling you that I need proof you chose right, instead of just believing that 15 years of marriage are proof enough. He stands up, walks to our fireplace, holds the letter over the cold hearth. I'm going to ask you one question, and I need you to answer honestly. Not the answer you think I want, the truth. Okay, I breathe. If Daniel showed up at our door right now, this very moment, changed and apologetic and offering you that passion you were torn about 15 years ago, would you choose him? And I've never been more certain. No, I say, and my voice doesn't shake, because I don't want passion that burns everything down. I want partnership that builds things up. I don't want someone who knew me at my worst. I want someone who helped me become my best. I don't want chaos. I want coming home. I want you, Marcus. I've wanted you every single day for 15 years. And yes, I was torn once, when I was 25 and scared and didn't understand the difference between intensity and intimacy. But I'm 40 years old now, and I know exactly what I have. And I would choose you 1,000 times over. Marcus looks at the letter in his hand, then at me, then back at the letter, and then he crumples it up and throws it into the fireplace. I don't need to read it, he says, because you're right. You've been proving your choice every day for 15 years. And I've been too rigid, too demanding of perfection to see that choosing after consideration is actually stronger than never having a choice at all. He walks toward me, doesn't stop until he's right in front of me. I'm still hurt, he says. I'm still processing that you kept this from me. But I also understand why. And I forgive you. Not because I'm perfect, God knows I'm not, but because that's what love is. Forgiving you person you chose again and again. I start crying then. Really crying. The kind of crying that comes from 6 hours of not knowing if your marriage was ending. I'm sorry, I sob. I'm so sorry I didn't trust you with my truth earlier. I'm sorry I gave you reasons not to, he says, and he's crying now too. I'm sorry I was so rigid that you felt you had to hide. I'm sorry I've held grudges and demanded perfection when love is supposed to be about accepting imperfection. He pulls me into his arms, and for the first time in 6 hours, I can breathe. Tell me, he says into my hair. Tell me everything. Every story you've been too scared to share. Every fear, every shame. The nights I cried thinking I'd destroyed any chance at a normal life. The way Sarah talked me through it. The correspondence courses. The promise I made myself. The terror when Daniel came back. The list I made. The moment I decided. Everything. And he listens. Really listens. Asks questions. Holds my hand. Doesn't judge. We talk until our voices are hoarse, until the sun has fully set and the room is dark except for the lamp we finally think to turn on. And when I've told him everything, when there are no more secrets, he says something I'll never forget. I wish you'd told me sooner, but I understand why you didn't. And I love you, all of you, including the parts you thought you had to hide.
It's late now, almost midnight. We're still on that couch, but the crisis has passed. Tomorrow, actually later today since it's after midnight, we'll talk more. We'll figure out how to move forward. We'll probably need counseling to work through the trust that was broken and the secrets that were kept. But right now, in this moment, we're okay. Marcus just told me he's going to call his brother tomorrow. Really reconcile with him after years of holding on to hurt. If I can forgive you, he said, I can forgive him too. Maybe I've been too rigid about forgiveness for too long. And me, tomorrow, I'm going to throw away Sarah's letter. I don't need reminders of who I used to be anymore. I know who I am now. A woman who made terrible mistakes and fought like hell to become someone better. A woman who was torn between two futures and deliberately chose the one that required growth instead of destruction. The truth is, our love story isn't perfect. It never was. I wasn't sure at first. I had doubts. I made a choice. But that's what makes it real. The greatest love stories aren't about people who never wavered, who never questioned, who never looked back at the road not taken. They're about people who faced those crossroads, made their choice, and then spent every day afterward proving it was the right one. Sometimes love isn't about finding someone who completes you. It's about finding someone who challenges you to complete yourself. Sometimes forgiveness isn't about forgetting the pain. It's about deciding that the person someone became matters more than the mistakes they made. And sometimes the greatest act of love isn't never doubting. It's choosing every single day to stay, to build, to trust that the person across from you is doing the same. Marcus never read Daniel's letter. Neither did I. And we never will. Because what matters isn't the life I didn't choose. What matters is the life I did. The one I've been living for 15 years, with a man who brings me coffee on Sunday mornings, who remembers how I take my sugar, who sees me fully now and loves me anyway. That's not settling. That's not second best. That's choosing. And choosing, it turns out, is the most powerful kind of love there is.
Marcus just squeezed my hand. He says,
"Come to bed. Tomorrow we start fresh. But tonight, let's just be."
so that's what we're doing. Being. Together. Choosing each other again. In that unopened letter, it's ashes in our fireplace now. Just ashes. Exactly where it belongs.